Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the movie An American Werewolf in London from 1981. An American Werewolf in London from 1981 is a horror comedy werewolf film that was directed by John Landis. John Landis, as you know, directed comedy films like Trading Places, Animal House, Blues Brothers, and Coming to America. He also directed the 1980s Twilight Zone movie remake. And he also wrote the film, too. The movie was produced by George Faisley Jr. The movie stars David Naughton, Jenny Agutter from Logan's Run and Walkabout, Griffin Dunne, and John Woodvin. An American Werewolf in London is about two Americans traveling in Britain for a vacation. They stop off at a pub bar and ask a simple question about what the symbol of the werewolf means. After upsetting the people at the bar, they leave, and they're attacked by a werewolf. Jack is killed by the werewolf. David is bitten by the werewolf. Now David is cursed and becomes a werewolf himself. Here's my DVD copy of American Werewolf in London. This was the first time I saw it on this DVD. And of course, how we're in 2021, my dad bought me this and upgraded it to Blu-ray. This movie is not a remake to The Wolfman, but it has the same story arc like The Wolfman. The movie pays tribute to The Wolfman, especially like film directors like John Landis, who grew up in the 50s and 60s watching these movies. In the 80s, film directors like John Landis, who were grown up at this point, they made their own version of their favorite horror movies and made its own, and taken inspiration. This is one of my favorite werewolf movies. In the future, I'll do a top 10 favorite werewolf horror movies. It's also one of my favorite horror comedies. It has a lot of sick, dark humor that is crazy and insane. It's cool how John Landis makes references to the Wolfman, the Hammer, Curse of the Werewolf. You can tell he was a fan. Some people debate and argue about this being a remake to The Wolfman, but honestly, the movie's really more of a tribute than a remake. If this was a remake, that'd be a different situation, a different story to this movie. Basically, John Landis took the same story but made it his own. The first time I saw this movie, I was 9 years old. The movie scared me more than Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman. Compared to the Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr., this had more violence and gore in it. I love the performance in this movie from David Naughton, Jenny Agutter, Griffin Dunne, and John Woodvin. All do a great job in this movie. The opening scene, we are first introduced to the characters of Jack and David. It's very convincing and very believable they really are best friends. In fact, when both David Naughton and Griffin Dunne got the parts of this movie, they spent some time together getting to know each other, and they actually became best friends in real life, and realized they had a lot in common. I love their dialogue in their first scenes arguing about being on a trip like this, and the knock-knock joke. When David and Jack arrive at the Slaughter Lamb bar setting, the atmosphere reminds me of like the Hammer films when Peter Cushing as Van Helsing arrives in a bar. After asking a simple question on what the star symbol means, the villagers get mad, disturbed, and tell the boys to leave and stick to the roads. When Jack and David leave the bar, they are attacked by the werewolf. This scene scared and horrified and engrossed me as a little kid, seeing Jack ripped to shreds, and Jack dies. Just like Lawrence Talbot, David fails to save his friend Jack from dying and being killed by the werewolf. After when David is bitten by the werewolf, now he is cursed to become a werewolf. After Jack's death and being bitten by a werewolf, David is traumatized, sad, upset, and feeling guilty and thinking that it was his fault for Jack's death, wishing he could have saved him. One question I wonder about David after being attacked by the werewolf: where the heck were David's parents? One would think after being attacked that his parents would have flown out to London to check on him to make sure he's okay. I'm not a parent, but that's the first thing I would do as a parent. Charge as fast as I can to get to the place to make sure my kids are okay. David begins having crazy, weird, bizarre dream sequences that are messed up, and has dreams within a dream, in a way, pre-inception at that time. To this day, no matter how many times I've watched this movie repeatedly, the Nazi werewolf scene is still a scene. I don't know what to think of it. It's so weird, it makes me speechless in a WTF, what did I just see and watch? One way I look at the dream sequences is David is hungry what to expect when he becomes the werewolf. It's the only scene in the movie where we see David's parents and his younger siblings. No one believes David that him and Jack were being attacked by a werewolf. People tell David that it was all in his head, that it was psychological. When David is investigated by one of the police inspectors, he's played by Frank Oz, as you all know who played Yoda in Star Wars. It may have been a small part, but I hate to say, he was kind of such a prick, the guy. I don't know why, he looks like Tobias David Cross from Arrested Development. Another character, Inspector Viler, is again, is it just me or does he look like Claude Rains? I wonder if that's what John Landis was going for. When Jack visits David at the hospital as a Walking Dead corpse, the first thing he asks him, can I please have a piece of toast? Jack tells David about the werewolf curse and he will become a werewolf, and he tells David to kill himself so that way Jack's soul can rest in peace. Jack asks David, have you ever talked to a dead corpse? It's boring. Really serious dark humor there, especially about spirits that have not crossed over yet to rest in peace. Before the werewolf transformation scene, he stays with Alex, the nurse who took care of him at the hospital. I love this character. She's nice, she's sweet, she's very beautiful. She's a caring person, she really loves David. I can see why David Naughton had a crush on her when they made this movie. They have shower sex, and after that, Jack visits him looking like an extra from a George Romero Walking Dead zombie, telling him about a message on the full moon rising and turning into a werewolf, and that he will kill people. When David opens the fridge looking for some food, he's never hungry throughout the entire film. And the reason why David is never hungry is because he's not hungry for food, he's hungry for human flesh. The song Bad Moon Rising by CREEDENCE Clearwater Revival plays in the background, which is the perfect song for the occasion for this movie. When Dr. Hirsch goes out to the village to investigate where David and Jack were attacked by the werewolf, and again, it makes me think about the Hammer Dracula films when Van Helsing was trying to investigate and find his friend who was killed by Dracula. At first, he does not believe David about the werewolf curse. Imagine if Peter Cushing played Dr. Hirsch in this movie. That would have been cool and awesome. When Dr. Hirsch asks the villagers what happened to the attack when Jack and David were there, the thunder roars. That represents guilt by the villagers for letting Jack and David go when they were attacked by the werewolf. This movie is the best werewolf transformation scene ever thanks to special effects makeup artist Rick Baker. It won the Academy Award for Best Special Effects, and you know what? It deserved it. Another horror film that won an Academy Award. I can't imagine how hard and how much time it took to do that werewolf transformation scene. In this modern day age, they would CGI it. It's so sad. When David becomes the werewolf and kills people, it's so bloody and violent and brutal. The next day, David wakes up at the zoo nude and steals a little boy's balloons and a woman's coat. It's funny because that's a downside of going back to normal, no backup clothes. After finding out he's responsible for the deaths of the people he killed as the werewolf, he sees Jack's zombie dead corpse at a porn theater and tells him that he should kill himself. At the porn theater, David meets the victims he kills in his imagination. It's like if a serial killer met his victims as the Walking Dead, very awkward. Just like Lawrence Talbot, David feels guilty for killing people and he's misunderstood. The ending is sad and tragic when David is shot. Before he's shot, Alex tells him that he loves him, and the look on his face shows that deep down inside that he hears Alex's word, "I love you," but he had no choice. Before I wrap up this review, believe it or not, there was actually a sequel to this movie. It was called An American Werewolf in Paris. Unfortunately, it's unrelated to the first movie. None of the characters from the first movie come back. A year ago, I watched it on Amazon Prime for the first time. It was bad and it sucked. The werewolf transformation was horrible and very bad with CGI, no Rick Baker special effects. The characters were lame, dumb, stupid, cliche, and not likable. The movie had that French actress who was in Before Sunrise with Ethan Hawke. Her name is Juliette Delpy. This is a movie I will never rewatch or revisit anytime soon, ever watch it ever again. No review. That was my short, brief review in this video. That's it, moving on. It was a dumb, stupid sequel that was just not necessary. So that was my review of An American Werewolf in London. Hope you liked it. Please like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get my latest updates on my YouTube channel. See you next time.